Hello friends, and welcome back to the Mothership. Today we are doing another unforgivable cook by taking a beautiful cut of steak and cooking it just like a brisket. This time, we're going with picanha. Let's get started. Here is our USDA prime picanha. Now, I gotta tell you guys, this is a beautiful cut of meat and it's gonna feel real weird not cutting it into steaks. But, science. So if this were a brisket, I probably would trim down this fat cap because it is very thick. But you know, this is a picanha. I feel like that would just be sacrilegious. So instead I'm just gonna cut some scoring into it, same way I would do with if I was cutting these into steaks and cooking them, you know, medium rare. So we're just gonna score it up a little bit. Just going through the fat, we don't want to go through the meat side. And I'm gonna do a cross pattern. Okay. Now as far as actually seasoning these, instead of going just traditional salt and pepper like I usually do, I think I'm actually going to mix it up slightly, and I'm going to go with some Lawrys this time around. So, first step, I'm going to put some black pepper on here. Then I'm going to go ham with Lawrys. And because we like garlic in this house, I'm going to add some garlic in as well. Now that's the fat side, which doesn't matter as much. Now we move on to the side that actually matters, which is the meat side, and I'm going to do the same thing. Perfect. Now this can sit in your fridge or it can go directly onto the pit. I haven't got mine up to temp yet, so I'm just going to put it back in the fridge while I get everything set up. Then we're going to throw this on. We are up to temperature and I just threw our picanha on. It's going to go fat side down. I'm going to run it at about 180 degrees just to get as much smoke on there as I can. Probably about a couple hours, maybe 3 hours, and then I'm going to bump the temperature up until we get the bark nice and set, and then we'll think about wrapping it or just letting it run. But just going to leave it alone, let it do its thing for a couple hours at a relatively low temperature, just to get as much smoke on there as possible. Okay, we've been running at 180 for honestly longer than I meant to, probably about 5 hours really. We're probing about 138. At this point, I'm going to bump her up to 250. If I hit the stall, I might wrap it. Not sure yet, but I am going to start spraying because we do have a nice bark on there, but it does look a little dry, so give it a little bit of liquid, nothing crazy. Let it keep doing its thing. Well, there we are, guys. We have passed the point where I could have called off this crazy experiment and just had a delicious medium rare steak. I have it wrapped. We are about 160, and we are going to push it into the 195-ish area. Hopefully this wasn't a terrible idea, but it does look delicious. So, tinfoil wrap. Usually I do butcher paper, but I didn't plan ahead, so I didn't have any butcher paper left. And Amazon didn't deliver it to me in time, so we were going with the tried and true tin foil. I didn't add any extra fat. That fat cap is rendering just fine. I think that'll be just enough to keep it nice and moist in there. We're just going to use the crutch, get us to where we want to go. 8 hours after this one, and everything is probing just like butter. This is fantastic. We're getting about a 195, up to about 198 all over, which means I'm going to pull it. It is going to go into a towel and then either into a cooler, or in my case, I think I'm just going to put it in my toaster oven until we're ready to actually eat this thing. Just let it rest, just like we would do a brisket. Let's see how we did, guys. Alrighty, guys. Our picanha is done. And as I said before, there's absolutely a certain place in hell for people reserved to ruining beautiful cuts of steak like this, but you know what? For science. So let's cut a couple slices in here and see how we did. Here is our end cut. Oh my goodness, just fall apart good. Let's try and get a little bit one with a little bit more intact. Oh my goodness. Obviously there's a ton of fat on top, which is going to be expected with that big fat cap. But just look at this. If we take the fat cap off, which I was really just using to protect the meat, we have this, oof, perfect looking cut right there. Beautiful smoke ring. Everything looks great. It's time to give this a taste test, guys. All right. Obviously, guys, this is one of those cooks that did not need to be done. We all know picanha is fantastic, and you should cut them into steaks, you should horseshoe them, and you should throw them on your grill, and they'll be absolutely fantastic. But you know what? Curiosity always kills a cat. In my case, I just wanted to try something new. But after doing my tri-tip and it coming out with such incredible results, I wanted to see if there was another cut of steak that would have the same type of thing without having to do the entire size brisket. But since I had one already, and it was USDA prime, so it's gonna be a great cook regardless, I wanted to see if I took it past that point of breaking down the intermuscular and the connective tissues, if things were gonna come out just as good as the tri-tip and just like a brisket. So of course, we need to cut a piece here and see what it looks like. That giant fat cap was fantastic for protecting the meat. This is what we're working with for the actual steak itself. It's very delicious looking. It's pull apart. I mean, this is basically like a brisket flat, it feels like. Oh my Lanta. Guys, this melts maybe even more so than the Trisket. This is a lot like that prime Trisket, guys. That tri-tip was really good low and slow. This is also very, very good low and slow. I mean, look at that. Fantastic. Just pulls apart. And it is so juicy and so easy to eat. The bark on these is really good. You know, I don't do a lot of Lawrys, but it is kind of becoming just that open air secret that most of the big barbecue joints end up using Lawrys instead of just salt. So I'm trying to see if that's something that I actually like to do in the future. It's not overpowering, like I was kind of concerned it would be, but it actually works really well on this cut. Now, obviously, with this cut, you have a whole bunch of fat, which we're not really gonna do anything with. It's kind of just wasted fat, but it did protect the meat. Now, obviously, guys, this is a very expensive cut, and you don't need to do this to get good results. You can just cook a brisket. But if you're interested in trying something new, hey, this is a fun experiment. Guys, if you like me doing insane things like this and taking very good cuts of meat and just doing random stuff with them, let me know down below. If you have a different cut of meat that you'd like to see me do in this style, please let me know down below. I enjoy these long cooks that I have no idea what the outcome is going to be like. And this one definitely surpassed my expectations. If you're interested, we're going to eat this with a garlic aioli sauce and probably some smashed potatoes and a little bit of salad. I think that'll come together for a nice meal, especially with something that's gonna be this rich. But guys, as always, cook something fantastic. Give me a like, comment, subscription, all that YouTube jazz. And I'll catch you next time on the UFO Barbecue. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.